So we get a lot of amateur MMA people here at the gym, and what they ask is, how do we get stronger at a normal gym with normal equipment and help our fighting skills? Well, today we're going to go over that. So the first thing that we have to assess is, what's his problem on the wrestling mat? And what we found was that he's getting stronger due to what you're going to see is workouts that we're doing now, but he's been doing workouts for almost a year and a half. What we found is that his strength got better, but he started to actually create too much muscle burn. He was getting tired and he was out of shape. So we transitioned his weight training into kind of helping those energy systems. So what we did was, for fighting, we started doing stuff for 1 minute. I think this is a really good scenario to put people that do that kind of hobby, as in fighting and things like that, do stuff for time versus doing stuff for reps, because that can tend to limit you when you just do a set of 10 versus if you have to do something for a whole freaking minute. So because we only have basic stuff, they don't even have a squat rack. We went to the leg press for this, and he's going to rotate doing leg press wide stance and leg press isolateral. He's going to do 4 sets of a minute, okay? Then he's going to do leg curls, and he's going to do full sit-ups. So he had some issues with his abdominals and pulling himself up out of certain moves. So we added it back in full sit-ups. So you're seeing this is very different than what I would write for powerlifting or even really for general fitness. This is for specific weaknesses that he specifically has on the wrestling mat. So what we did is we transferred everything over to 1 minute sets. This is going to be one whole workout. So if you look at this, he's going to do 4 leg presses, 4 leg curls, and full sit-ups. Now, this particular design tells me that he's going to have to do this in a circuit. So he's going to have to do a minute of leg presses, then jump straight onto a minute of leg curls, and then jump straight onto a minute of full sit-ups. Doesn't look like a ton of work, but when you don't have any rest, it is a shitload of work. So now, what we were doing for him in the past, because he had very minimal experience in training, was he did one workout for about 4 to 6 weeks, and then we would transition. Now, if I had him here at the gym, I wouldn't do that. But because his knowledge is so limited, I didn't want to mix up a bunch of different exercises and put him in an area where he has to look things up for 25, 30 minutes or longer, or maybe not even find the information. So what we did was we developed very specific exercises specific to his task, and then tried to beat him up as good as we could in a normal gym. Now, workout 2, he's going to do sumo deadlifts. Now, this is one of the first times we put sumo deadlifts in because I wasn't comfortable with him deadlifting in the beginning. He really didn't have that much motor control. But now these deadlifts look really good. So he's going to do this with 95 pounds, but we don't have bumper plates where he's at. So he's actually going to put the plates on mats and take the bar up higher. This is going to allow him to not be too deep, but also get the normal range of motion on a deadlift, because the 25-pound plates are only this tall versus this tall. So he's going to do 3 sets of a minute there. Then he's got a lower back extension machine, because we want to work on him being able to bridge and things like that. He's going to do that for 4 sets of a minute and go a little bit heavier. But because it's not really a compressive movement, it's just working his low back, and he tells me that's where his weakest link is, we're going to do those for 4 sets. Now, the next big thing we're going to do, which I'm not a huge fan of, but for fighting is huge, is a single arm kettlebell swing to snatch. So if he's running out of GPP, we've done kettlebell swings before. Those have he's gotten really good at them. So now I've mixed it up and turned it into a 1-arm single arm snatch, which hopefully is going to attack a little bit more abdominal training. So that's what we're going to do. He's going to do this on one Monday, then this the next Monday. So he does MMA training 3-4 times a week, and he just does 1 leg workout per week. So if you're doing a bunch of different stuff and activities, I truly believe that you really can't train legs with weights more than once a week if you're doing other sports, just based on the fact it's just too much damage. And we all know once your legs get super strong, or you're doing these kind of workouts for sets of a minute, you're going to need a long time for your legs to heal, especially if you got to go wrestle the next day. The upper body you can be a little bit more lenient with and train a little harder, so you're going to see a few more exercises. This, we decided to keep everything at 25. So his upper body needs a lot more muscle mass. So what I decided was, let's keep the reps high and let's push this stuff. So I'm trying to keep everything at around an 8 RPE. Now, RPE means rate of perceived exertion. So when he's doing stuff, he's never going to a 10 RPE. He's only going to an 8. I believe that going to an 8 of rate of perceived exertion, 1 being easy and 10 being the hardest thing you've ever done in your life, 8 is where the growth happens, especially for athletes. You go into the 9 and the 10s, what you're going to start noticing is that your CNS drainage on those exercises is going to be very high. It's going to start affecting sport-specific training. So if you go above in the 9s and the 10s, You got to be very careful with doing that with especially beginner and intermediate athletes, because you're going to drain them and they're actually going to get slower and worse at their sport. Okay, so what you're going to notice is a lot of this stuff is, we got dumbbell incline hammer grip. He's never done hammer grips before. We're going to do one arm lat pull downs now, so we're switching all this stuff into isolateral movements, meaning one arm. So what we found was, through his assessment today, was that his left arm and his right arm were imbalanced by upwards of 15%. So what I did for these workouts is I separated his left and right side in order for him to start counterbalancing that. So if you do bilateral, i.e. both hands at the same time, and you have a left to right deficiency, or vice versa, then what's going to end up happening is you're not going to correct that imbalance. It's just going to make it worse. So what we did is we started separating that. Now in the beginning, we didn't know if he had a left or right imbalance because he was so weak that how do you really even assess that per se with somebody with zero experience? But now that we've been training for about a year, his right side, his dominant hand, is about 10 or 15% stronger. So now he has to do his triceps left and right separated. Now here we added in declines and we did wide grip lat pull down. So you can see in this workout, it's quite a few more exercises than the legs based on the fact that we're using less muscle tissue. So if we look at his sport, he's going to be wrestling and moving really, really hard. I find that upper body can still be trained upwards of twice a week, but the lower body can only be trained once a week just due to muscle mass damage, CNS drainage. So today we broke down a workout specifically designed for a person that has very minimal equipment at a local YMCA about 2.5, 3 hours away that can't get a lot of access to me. Now what you saw was something that we did that was completely different that he wasn't used to, and we broke it down on why we're doing it at this particular time. This workout may not be exactly for you, but it may give you some tips on how you can modify your exercises to make them better and make them function for what you want them to function for. There's a lot of amateur MMA guys, there's a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, and the thing of it is, when you're doing this kind of training, is just thinking about what you need at what time and training your weaknesses, as we always preach.